In this video, we're going to go over how to use Flipmine to flip books from eBay on Amazon and to make what I call low tier profits. That's books that you can make 45 or less profit on. Mid tier flips, which you can make between $45 and $75 on. High tier flips, which are between $75 and $125 profit books. And then finally, mega tier flips, the gold mine, the gold nuggets, the $125 profit book. What's up, everybody? I'm Joji Davenport. I'm a high school teacher, but I also sell books on Amazon as a side hustle. I do that to make extra income for myself and to support my family and to get closer to financial independence. So today we're going to be reviewing Flipmine. It's an online software that you could use. Basically, it compares eBay listings to Amazon listings, tries to find a price differential, and then shows them to you. And the goal is, if there's a big enough differential, hey, why don't you buy this thing on eBay and flip it right back on Amazon and make a profit? Now, a quick disclaimer before we get started is that it does cost $39 per month, so it's not cheap, nor is it free, but I'll show you that if you could just flip one book a month, you're going to break even and it's going to be worth it. All right, so here's what Flipmine looks like. This is the actual software. And what you do is just make a whole bunch of different customized rules, and you add those rules up, and basically your Flipmines get to return results for you that meet those criteria. Now, I just use this one I just call it test one. I kind of try to do a whole bunch of different ones, or I try to experiment with different rule sets to see if it produces any better results. But these are the conditions that I've set, and feel free to copy them if you want to. I'm looking at the category of books because I'm interested in books, but you could look at a whole bunch of different categories. I look at used books where the Amazon price is greater than $85. The sales rank is less than 2 million. I'm calculating profit based upon the lowest offer price on a 180-day average or rolling basis. And then I'm also filtering sales rank to that 180-day average. And based upon this rule set, I'm going to get an eBay image and an Amazon image, and an eBay listing and an Amazon listing, which should match each other. And over here on the right, I'm going to get what the eBay price is, what the lowest used FBA price is, and the lowest offer is. And then finally, a calculation for what's the potential profit and also what's the potential ROI. Now, one thing to know is that this ROI and profit calculator is not entirely accurate because prices are moving all the time. So you will have to do a lot of clicking through listings, and I wouldn't necessarily see these and just automatically think, oh, bam, I'm gonna make $107. This is something that is intriguing to me, and I would actually look at it. So I'd say, let's go and open up these two listings. We might say, okay, look, you could buy this book for $25 on eBay. Let's go over to Amazon and see if that would be a good deal. Obviously not right now, because you could buy this for $9.53 plus shipping. So Flipmine isn't, it's not like perfect in it, in some sense. Like, there's definitely a lot of click through that you have to do to try to find books that you can flip. But if you are persistent with it and you're consistent, you're definitely going to find some good books. And if we actually scroll down just to the listing right below it, this real and complex analysis, you can see that this is showing a 17% ROI and $11 profit. And if I go and open up these listings, you can see that somebody has already bought this on eBay. It looks like this was a best offer and someone sent a best offer. It looks like the seller accepted. But if you look at the Amazon listing, right now the lowest used price is about $92 plus shipping. So this person here was asking $70. They had best offer on, probably the person who sent the offer over, maybe they send an offer of like $40 or so. And if they're able to buy it, that would be a good deal, because basically here's a book whose Keep a chart shows it sells for like $95 plus very consistently. And if they're buying it for like $40, that's pretty undervalued. They can definitely flip it and make profit. But let's go ahead and jump into some of my actual real flips and just give you sort of a summary of how it's going for me. So here's what I would consider low tier flips, which are books that you would buy on eBay, flip on Amazon, and make less than $45 profit. Okay. And what we're going to do is, I'm not going to look at all 5 of these, even though these are 5 books that I bought and sold and flipped on Amazon. We'll only look at a couple of them just for the interest of time. So let's go and look at Birds of a Feather, and let's look at Atlas of Pediatric Physical Diagnosis. So here is this Birds of a Feather book, and I'll go ahead and put these screenshots up on the board or up here on the screen. But I bought this on February 26th on eBay for $21.95, and I flipped it right back on Amazon. I sold it on March 31st for $69.99. Okay, so again, I mentioned I bought this on February 26th. If I go ahead and just look at the Keep a chart and only look at February 26th, I'd be right about this time here, and just look at the historical data, right? This is kind of what I was seeing at that point in time when I was using Flipmine. I was looking at a price where the lowest used price on Amazon at that time was about $98. But if I look in the recent past, there are a number of historical sales of, above $70. So if I'm looking at a listing on eBay and this book is available for basically $22 and there's historical sales data to show that it's selling for over $70, then that's an undervalued book in my eyes. I think I can make money by just flipping it for what it's historically selling for. And so I did sell this on March 31st, which would have been this time, let's see, right in here. I was able to sell mine for $69.99 and that made a profit of $32. Okay, so again, that's not like an amazing flip. I'd say that's kind of just like an average flip or a low tier flip. Here's the breakdown of that book. So I bought it on eBay for $21.95, sold for $69.99. I made a profit of $32 and it took about 32 days to sell. Okay, let's go and take a look at the next one, which is Atlas of Pediatrics Physical Diagnosis. So I bought this on eBay for $29. It sold for $89, paid Amazon $23 in fees and made a profit of $36. And this actually took a little over 3 months, 107 days to sell. So here's the actual Amazon listing. So I mentioned I bought this on February 20th. And let's go ahead and zoom in here to February 20th, which would be right about here. This is the data that I was looking at on Keepa. So I have a sell about, 3 sales here about $90, a couple here about $65, and then a couple of sales a little bit lower about, $40. So when I'm coming across this book and it's $29, I'm saying, is this a book that historically sells for significantly more than $29? And the answer to that was, there are a few sales. And if I go a little bit further back into time there, I could see that, okay, well, there's actually quite a few sales, quite a few drops at about 55 to 60 plus. So definitely buying at 29 is not like an amazing deal, but it is a good deal considering historical sales average. So I did end up flipping this on June 4th for a total of $88.99. And if you actually look at the price there in June, the price was about $24. So interestingly, this book was probably, you could have bought it on Amazon, the lowest price for about $29. So, looking back on this now, what I bought it for, then at $29 was actually like not that great of a deal considering that the price went down to basically what I bought the book for. But I guess it just goes to show you that even though on June 4th, the price of this book, the lowest used price was about like $28, I was still able to flip this for $88.99. It just shows you the power of Amazon FBA and shows you that a lot of the times, because of the way the buy box works, shipping speed is heavily favored and you can still flip a book for significantly more than what the lowest offer is available. So the lowest offer is $24 and plus shipping. I sold mine for $88.99. Honestly, probably got pretty lucky there because, looking at what the prices were here, probably shouldn't have been able to sell for that much. All right, these next flips are going to be mid-tier flips. These are books that I've made between $45 and $75 profit on. And I'd say this is definitely the meat and potatoes. Like this is where you're kind of the range that you're gonna profit most books on. And I definitely say that this is the range that most of your books are going to fall under, is between $45 and $75 profit. Okay, so we're going to look at 2 books. We're going to look at this book here, and we're also going to look at this toxicology book. All right, so it looks like this is for some sort of board game, and I don't know if this is how I say it. Draconomicon. Like, I'm sorry, I'm butchering this. People who follow this probably are gonna hate me, but it's a Dungeons and Dragons book. I bought this on eBay for $13.45. I flipped it for $99.99 on Amazon and profited $65. It took about 93 days or 3 months to sell. So let's go ahead and look over at the listing here on Amazon. Okay, so again, I bought this on February 26th. So if we look back to February 26th on the Keepa graph, that would have been right around this time. This is the data that I was looking at. Here's a sell there for 100. So, 2 sells here for over 80. We got a sell there for 40 and about 4 or 5 sells for above 35. So I'm looking at this book on eBay showing up for $13.45. I'm saying, hey, there's a number of sells for above 30, some sells above 80. Like, this is an undervalued book. It's a book that right now doesn't have a very, has a very low used offer count. And it looks like when this book does have a low used offer count that it could sell for, pretty good amount of money. Now, if we look back further into history where there's historically a higher used offer count, you can still see that it's selling north of like $30. So I felt that $13.45, like this is a no-brainer. This is an undervalued book and I can flip it on Amazon. Now I did end up selling this on May 30th, which would actually be this sales rank drop right here. Now what's interesting to note here is that the price, the lowest used offer price was $64.73, but the person who bought the book didn't buy it at $64.73. They bought it at $99.99 because that came from me. So that's just another lesson to you, is that when you see the sales rank dropping over the black used line, don't think that that's what the book sold for. What you should think is that's what the book sold for at the minimum. But a lot of the times when that sales rank drops at that, where that black line is, it could be that there was a higher offer, usually an FBA offer, and it could have sold for significantly more. So in this case, the lowest used price was $64. I actually sold mine for $99.99, which is about what, $30 more. All right, the second mid-tier flip book we're gonna look at is this toxicology book. I purchased this on eBay for $50, flipped it on Amazon for $153, paid Amazon $32, profited $70, and took 168 days to sell. So this actually took quite a while to sell. It's, quite a number of months. But let's go and take a look at the Amazon listing here. So I bought this again on February 22nd. So we just zoom into February 22nd. This is the data that I was looking at. So you can see there's about 7 or 8 of these sales rank drops, which indicates sales, and the book sold for at least 65 there, and a number of times above 140. So I'm looking at this book. It's available to me on eBay through Flipmine for $50. That's about a third of what it has historically sold for in the recent past. And if I look a little bit further back into history, you can see that this is littered with sales above $100, above $80. Here, pretty crazy where we went even above $140. So there's precedent for the selling for more than $50. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger and bought that. I ended up selling this on August 8th. If we zoom into August 8th, that would have been about this time right here. That would have been this sales rank dropping. But again, I sold mine for $153. So even though sales rank dropped when the price was 71, it looks like someone paid about $75 extra to buy this book from me prime. So again, that's just another example of that green sales rank when it drops over the black used price. That's just an indicator of what it sold for at least, right? That's the minimum that it sold for, but oftentimes it actually selling for a lot more. But $153 is kind of right in line what this was selling for back in December and January of the previous year. So I think that's what I was expecting to sell for. It took a little bit longer than I thought it would to sell, but it did sell, and I made a profit of $70 with that book. All right, now let's get into some of the crazier high tier flips. These are books that I made over $75 profit on, and we're gonna look at these two: Betting with an Edge in this probability book here. Okay, so Betting with an Edge, I bought this for $13.10 on eBay using Flipmine. Sold on Amazon for $125, paid Amazon $25 in fees, which if you look at the difference between what I paid for the book and the fees I paid Amazon, it's about double. And I made a profit of $85. It took about 97 days to sell. So let's go ahead and look at the Amazon listing here. So again, I purchased this book on February 19th. So if I go back to February 19th, we're looking right around here. This is the data that I'm looking at. I saw about 3 sales. One sale is about at least 123. Another sale is here about 157, and then a sale there for 37. And if I look a little bit further back into its history, you can see this is littered with sales above $50. So when I come across this on eBay and it's available for $13.10, I'm thinking this is a pretty safe bet because this is considerably undervalued based upon what it's historically sold for. And the further evidence is, there have been 4 more sales since there where the used price is over $100. Okay, so I was able to sell my copy for $125. And after, looking at what I bought it for versus what I sold it for, made a profit of $85. So it's actually a really good flip. That's definitely somebody on eBay who maybe just didn't look up the value of the book on Amazon, or on eBay, maybe didn't look at completed listings right. But the point is, Flipmine is a software that's trying to look at market inefficiency between eBay and Amazon. So this is a clear case of someone undervaluing the book. So that gave me the opportunity to buy it and flip it on Amazon, and I made $85 from it. All right, the next high tier flip we're going to look at is this probability book. Purchased this on eBay for $33.99. Again, found it using the same rules that I showed you in the beginning of the video on Flipmine. Sold this on Amazon for $198 for a profit of $125, and this took about only 2 months to sell. So this is actually a great flip. Here's the actual Amazon listing here. You can see that when I bought this back here on June 28th, this is what I was looking at. A handful of sales, a couple of sales there above 190, one there 125, there about 60, 99. Couple of drops here about 180, and then a few drops over here about 95 to 100. If I go a little bit further back into time, you can see that there are some historical sales at around like 30 or 40, but there's also some sales about 75 plus. So based upon what I was looking at in terms of the used offer count, historically at that time, used offer count was still pretty low. I did end up flipping this on August 28th for a total of 198. So if we look at August 28th, that would be, right around this area. So again, you look at the used price and you can see that at that time when the sales ranks were dropping, the price was about $97. But again, I sold my book for about $100 more than that. All right, the last 2 books that we're gonna look at are mega tier flips. And those 2 books are Song of War and this Dictionary of Deities. So Again, these are 5 books that I've sold and made over $125 profit on. These aren't the only 5 books. There are, quite a few more than just those 5, but these are just 5 that I thought looked interesting. But let's go ahead and take a dive into those ones specific. All right, this book's called Song of War. I purchased this on eBay for $35.71, sold it on Amazon for $215, and made a profit of $141. And this one actually sold really quick. This one took 21 days to sell. This one actually surprised. Okay, so here's the Amazon listing. One thing that you'll notice right off the bat is that this book is very consistently selling for like over $130 because that black used line is very, very consistent, and we're seeing all these sales rank drops, which indicate that the books are selling. But if we go and take a look at when I bought this book, which is February 26th, that would have been about this time here, the data that I was looking at showed a handful of sales above 140. So when this popped up on eBay for $35, I'm like, this is a no-brainer. This is significantly below the market value for this book. So I decided to buy it and decided to flip it. Now, the interesting thing is that I sold this on March 22nd, which was only about a month later, and I sold it for $215. So let's go and zoom in on March 22nd. So it looks like maybe the sales rank registered right here. It's kind of interesting. I don't know why it would register so late, but the used price at that time is $149.99. I sold my book for $215. So I sold mine for $65 above what the lowest used price was. But again, it just shows you the potential of why it's a good idea to think about selling books through Amazon FBA rather than merchant fulfilling, because generally you can sell books for significantly more than the lowest used offer, or you can sell for significantly more than just merchant fulfilled sellers. Now, one other thing that I will say is that what you should be doing to also increase your success when you're using Flipmine is also be setting trackers for specific books that you might want to think about buying in the future. So an example would be here, you notice that on the Keep a Graph on June 5th, for some reason, the lowest use offer dropped down to $24.99. So somebody came onto the listing momentarily and they were selling this for $25, and you can see that the sales rank dropped like right after that. It's because somebody bought it. That's probably somebody, one of these 4 people who are tracking the book, who realized that significantly undervalued and that they could buy the book. Now for me, I'm only tracking this book for $13. I don't know why I'm tracking it for so low. I should be tracking it for significantly more than that. But what you could do is go ahead, instead of tracking, maybe I'll go instead of tracking it like 45. Not sure why mine was set so low, but basically what that means is whenever a book goes below what you're tracking it for, you get an email notification, a text message notification, and then you can reevaluate, go back and look at, is this actually a book that I could buy and flip and make money on? And in this case, like, yeah, if you had your tracker set and you're the person who bought this book, you even got a better deal than I did, because I bought mine for $35 on eBay. They bought theirs for $25 on Amazon, and probably are one of these people selling their book for well over $100. Now, you can see again that this happened on August 23rd, where the price dropped all the way down to $13. I unfortunately wasn't the person who bought it, but whoever was tracking this book, again, bought that copy, and probably the same person bought both of those books, and they made, probably well over $100 each on both of those copies. All right, the last book we're going to look at is this Dictionary of Deities book. I bought this on eBay for $159, flipped it on Amazon for $449.99, and made a profit of $213, and it took 112 days to sell. So let's go ahead and look at the actual listing here. Now, I bought this book on February 27th. So if we go back to February 27th, this is the data that I was looking at, which was, okay, 2 sales here, $449, and then a sell here at $796, and then a handful of sales above $400. So from my perspective, here's a book that pops up on eBay for $160. There's historical sales data that this is sold for multiple times over $400. So to me, like, even though I would have to invest a lot of money for this book, to me, it makes sense. Now, if I go a little bit further back into its history, you can see that this book has a history of actually having Amazon on the listing and also having third-party new sellers on the listing, where you could have bought this book new for about $160. So, that's something interesting to see. And actually something interesting to look at now is that it looks like new sellers have come back on the listing in the meantime. And, you could buy this book for $170 new there, $160 new there. It looks like there are no new sellers currently, but yeah, I mean, that's just something that's interesting, is that for whatever reason, when this book is not offered new, the used price jumps up really, really high, and there's potential of selling it for a lot of money. So again, I bought mine on February 27th. That would have been right around this time. Again, there were new sellers at that time, and they were listing theirs for over $500. But I bought mine for $159. I was able to sell mine on June 19th, which would have been right around here. June 19th, and I sold mine for $449. Now, what's interesting is that, it looks like the new third-party price, it overlaps on June 19th. So I don't know if maybe they're tracking the data that they're tracking there is not just entirely accurate, but I actually did sell mine for $449.99, probably right when this went out of stock here. But it does go to show you that that's pretty insane that I was able to sell mine for $449, considering that the lowest used price at that time was either, $157 or, $230. So significantly above what the lowest used offer price was. But again, it's probably because I got the buy box, because I'm an Amazon FBA seller, and probably the other used offers were merchant fulfilled sellers. They weren't Amazon FBA sellers. Okay, so before we end the video, let's just go over a couple of important things to note again, is that this does cost $39 a month. And the way I see it is if you can flip one book per month, you're going to break even. So in that regard, I think it's totally worth it if you actually are doing this. Some of the pros is that I would say that there's probably between 5 to 10 good opportunities per day. Now, remember that there's a lot of people doing this, so you might not be able to snag all of them, but there are definitely good opportunities every single day where there's eBay sellers who just underprice their books. They make a mistake. They, just have no idea what the book's worth. I don't know, but there's a lot of people who sell books on eBay for well under what they should be selling the book for, and that gives you an opportunity to flip them on Amazon. Another pro is that you can stack the keep a track product feature, which I kind of showed you a little while ago in the video, which is, once you find these books that are very valuable, set trackers, because a lot of the times when you have books that sell for a lot of money, when things change, like when the number of used offers increases or decreases, like the price of it can change pretty drastically. So that gives you an opportunity to try to track these books for when they do go to a price that makes sense. You can buy them and flip them. And then the other pro is that this is online arbitrage. You can source it from anywhere. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter if you live in the most expensive city in the world. It doesn't matter if you live in a very, very cheap area of the United States or wherever you're from. You don't even have to be in the United States. Is that you can buy them from anywhere, or you can source from anywhere. Now, the cons are definitely that it's very, very competitive, and you'll see that books that are good deals are probably gone within like 5 to 7 minutes of them being listed on eBay, which means you have to be pretty quick. Like you have to be refreshing Flipmine pretty frequently to, have a good opportunity at doing that. Now, one pro tip is that if you have a double monitor, you can have one of these, you can have Flipmine up on one monitor throughout the day, and you can use a Chrome extension called Easy Auto Refresh, and you can actually just have this auto refresh every, set amount of time. So I do mine for every 90 seconds and I start it. So basically every 90 seconds, it just automatically refreshes, and then I can just quickly glance over and see, what pops up here. So definitely a con is that you have to be fast to do it. Also, con is it's not free, but also it is a pro in a sense because, people are cheap. They don't want to spend $39 a month, and that's good because then you're reducing your competition, because not everyone wants to pay $39 a month to use this. And the other con is that you really have to be patient. Even though I showed you all these books that I've made, money on, it's not like every single one of these listings is going to be worth it. Turns out that this book was probably worth it because of, that person who sent the best offer. But I would say of every 10 books that you look at, maybe only 1 or 2 of them might actually make sense to buy. And yeah, you just have to go from there. So that's just been my sort of experience using Flipmine. I think it's a great tool to use. I definitely think there are better ways to source as well. Definitely using keep a track product feature, the deals tab, other online marketplaces like Facebook and OfferUp and Biblio. Like I think there are definitely a lot of other ways to do online arbitrage that I do. So if you are interested in learning about other ways to buy books online and flip them on Amazon, then hit me with the subscribe, like the video, leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.